Hello, it is Sunday. Welcome to the madness. I think it's Sunday. Please tell me it's Sunday. We are very near the end of our 8th square. We truly are. We are properly near the end of the square. Look, see? Very near the end of the square. But I have a lot to tell you on the bobbin front. So, I got some more sticks. Well, and this one is the original colouring. This is the new one. And if I rub it, it doesn't come off in my hands. Now, I think I need to potentially go over it again. But this doesn't come off. Now, these come out slightly smoother. I don't know whether it was just a chance application. But these kind of feel rougher. Which is a bit weird and stuff. But in the making bobbins front, I am somewhat excited to find out how that turns out. But I'm going to leave it a bit longer to thoroughly dry, as the phrase goes, just to make sure that it's all seeped in like it should. But it certainly seems like that is a good option. It's a bit more matte, which I don't have a problem with, but it is just a little bit rougher and doesn't seem to, I don't know, I may need to rough it up a bit and then go over it a bit more. But it is looking kind of positive for the whole bobbin front, so I am feeling pleased with myself on that one. Right, let's have a look. We need to release the bobbins. We need to release all of you. Come on, there you go. So Christy, how are you? Doing okay. It's a public holiday tomorrow here in the UK, which means a free day off, which, you know, let's face it, a free day off is always a good day off. Just need to do something with my hair. There we go, that's a bit better. Right. So yes, I'm doing okay. I have made a pair of bobbins, which is what I was talking about, and they look like these, and I really like them. So I am determined to set about making an entire set of them, because I think these look really classy as bobbins. I have bought, so if I show you the sticks that I've coloured, you'll notice that these two are shorter. I did buy some pre-cut sticks, whereas the original ones I cut myself. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea, because, well, it's definitely not. But I have thought that some slightly shorter ones would be quite nice, because they are quite long by the time you add the beads. You can see they're a good couple of centimetres longer. They're not too long. Well, I do intend to, I mean, I've got the idea from a lady, and she told me how she made them. I, of course, put my own slight twist on it, but I do intend to do a stream of making bobbins. I just want to finalise the outcome, because one of the biggest problems with where is it? Those bobbins as they stand, and being a crafty lady, you'll be able to do this. I'm just going to bring it up to the camera, but watch the white thread. You'll see it's got dark marks on it as it goes across. This is because the colour came off. Now, I used the exact method she did, and she said, oh, mine don't do that. I kind of call bullshit, frankly. But I do think that there is ways around it. So I have some plans to test it out because, well, they're a lot simpler than you think. And as I said, I've got 2 sticks here. One is coloured in the previous manner, so if I rub this one on this bottom one here, the colour would come off. I don't want to do that because I'm about to handle my lace. But this one, I can rub this all I like and it doesn't come off. So that's kind of a good thing. But it is rougher. Now, I don't know, as I say, if that's just unfortunate that the stick I picked to colour was rougher by default. I have a feeling it was slightly, and that maybe it just needs a bit of love before I started. But it is very much a thing, and frankly, I foresee some bobbin making. They're a little fiddly in one sense, but they're quite cost effective compared to, you know, in terms of buying bobbins. They work out no more expensive really than anything else. And because I have a fascination with ebony bobbins, they're a hell of a lot cheaper than buying ebony bobbins. So from that point of view, it satisfies my wanting dark bobbins. And of course, one of the advantages of making your own is that you personalise them to be what you want them to be. So if you want them to be ridiculously colourful, well then you put lots of ridiculously colourful things on it. You know, they don't have to be black, they don't have to be... I chose silver looking beads. They don't have to be. They can be gold, they can be coloured, they can be plastic, they can be, you know, expensive, they can be cheap. You know, you can really kind of tailor it a lot to and get what looks like fairly professional looking bobbins. I mean, they're not exactly traditional looking bobbins, these, because obviously they haven't really got a neck, but I have... That's a good point. Weren't they supposed to arrive? That's right, I ordered something and it said it would arrive today, and I don't think it did. Let me check. Arriving tomorrow. Of course they're arriving tomorrow. So I've ordered some like little, I would say split rings, but I didn't want split rings, but I don't think I really found not split rings. But you can, you know, effectively use a split ring to give it a bit more of a middle, to define the middle and downwards. You could fill it totally with beads from kind of like to make it look like it had a neck. So, you know, there's an awful lot of options, but they're kind of fun to make, in the sense that you dream up what you want and then you make it. Like any crafting thing, it gives it a bit of fun. Hello. Yeah, I'm doing alright. I have kind of caved in that this is going to be a half curtain, not a whole curtain. And there's nothing wrong with a half curtain. We did peruse a half curtain yesterday that is absolutely to die for. Let me show you the magic curtain of yesterday, because, you know, being people of taste, you will like this. For this truly is spectacular. Now, I'm confident they are not handmade, but at the same time, they are very beautiful. So this is a bit of a close-up, and they are machine made, which is a little disappointing, but I do think with a bit of effort could be turned into handmade. I think the colourings on the birds would be difficult. Yeah, and so if I then zoom to this picture, which is kind of an in situ picture, you know, this would be absolutely phenomenal. And I do think you could do something along those lines. I mean, obviously you'd need to be able to draw the birds, something that I very much can't do. But I do think that it would be possible to, you know, make some bird motif shapes, to then make some mesh and lace around it to make the actual panels, and then maybe hand sew and embroider the birds afterwards, so that you have almost like a cloth stitch bird shape, and then you put all the details on using embroidery afterwards, to give it, you know, better look. And I definitely think that would be quite feasible. You could cross stitch it if you were, you know, feeling slightly insane, or you could just embroider it on. But it would be kind of a Sistine Chapel level of event. But I do really like it. It's just a shame that, now these are actually quite affordable, I need to point out. I mean, they're pricey, but considering what they look like, and if you were to set about making them, how long it would take, they're £41, which is probably around about $60 or something, right? So they're expensive, but not, you know, £1,000 kind of thing, right? Which, let's face it, if I'd sat there doing all of that, that's the kind of money I'd want, because it would have been like 10 years worth of effort, I think. But in general terms, I think, you know, you could do something similar, and have a really nice outcome for it. But I'm not there yet. I haven't sold my soul to that level. But I do really like them, and so I keep looking at them because, well, you know, it is very much a inspirational moment, I think, as the phrase goes. In that, you know, we can aspire to be making things that pretty. I have got my strips, so when we finish the next square, I'm converting to making strips that will look not necessarily like this, but this in principle. So there will be strips with a join down the middle that, if you look really close, if I bring it up, you can see it's got holes in, so that it looks more one piece than the squares will. I haven't decided what I'm doing to it yet, but thank you. So I've nearly finished a third strip to try a slightly different join, see if I can make a slightly more invisible join. Now, I do know how to make the invisible join. I have worked out how they did it, and it really isn't actually that hard, except for one small piece. When you start lace, you generally start in pairs, and the pairs then hang around a pin and give you basically something to tug on, right? This does not. The true invisible way they did it in days of yore, because they did it in more of a buck's point. Bear in mind, buck's point and chantilly are interchangeable. So, I know lots of people pretty, no they're not. They are, right? It's the same stuff. They use the same techniques. They just, it's just the case of they both kind of invented the same thing at different times. So, but you do that and you end up with a single bobbin of thread on the outside edge. So these outside edges, not that you can see, are all 2 threads, right? In the true test, which was the world's smallest square, so I made the world's smallest square, these edges are one thread, which then means you can add a second thread to complete it, but join it to its friend. So it does work. It does work very well. But because it's got nothing to hang it, I didn't think about it hard enough at the beginning, and as a result, well, it fell apart. Hence, there's an errant thread wandering off at the edge. And it does also mean that a lot of, because Bucks Point and Chantilly to lend themselves best to flowery shapes, it does not really do my aesthetic well. Now, it would be a thing of beauty. It really truly would. And I'm not going to pretend that that is not a thing, because, well, it would be an utter thing of beauty. But my sanity of sewing it together, I am not so sure would be a good plan. And I'm not sure I have the spare sanity points to do that. So I'm sticking with torchon, but trying to make a join that is as invisible as I can get it without losing my marbles doing it, because like I did when I was working out if there was a better way of finishing, and a lovely lady went, hey, you can do this. Yes, you can, and it will look better. Yes, it does. And it took me 4.5 hours to basically sew up 1 inch worth, and I was left crying like a blubbering wreck on the floor. And that is not an exaggeration. I absolutely lost my marbles doing it. So, while it is the better thing to do, while it is, a great and wondrous thing, my sanity couldn't take it. So if I was commissioned to do it for the king, and I was going to be paid, vast swathes of money, and I would put my sanity on the line, because at least at the end of it, the money would be worth it, and I would be recognised for my efforts by, as it would be seen by the world on show. When it's going up and only I'm going to sit, let's not, because I live alone and it's going on a window upstairs, even people who visit my house by default won't sit. So, let's not put myself in a lunatic asylum for that. That is not a necessary part of life. It is, like everything, it would be nice to have done it, but, there are pros and cons to everything, and obviously, while I want my work to look as best I can, I do have to kind of, I've got a house to run, dogs to look after, a job to hold. I've got to be in a state where I can do that. And if I'm, sectioned for a few months, it's not really going to happen. And I went too far. Go away. Don't need you yet. Go away. So it is very much it's not that I don't want to, for I do want it to look perfect. I want it to be the most glorious thing of beauty ever in the history of thing of beauty. But only I'm going to sit. And so hence, like here, I screwed up here somehow. I don't know quite what I did, but something didn't work. Oh well, never mind. I'm not going back that far. And to be honest, yes, it shows, but not enough, and even if it did, not enough, because to get back to here, I would have to unsew all these ends, I would have to roll back all of this bit, and this bit too, just to get back here to work out what the hell I did. And the shorter answer is I probably crossed a couple of pairs, got tangled a bit round some pins. Be almost certainly all it was, kind of the equivalent of I wandered through a pin and came out further down, so I used the wrong pairs. Shame, disappointed, annoyed, all of those. But moving on, because once again, only I'm going to see it. It's going to be the forerunner of the curtain number 2. We always knew that realistically there was going to be curtain number 2. So, you know, it very much is the, it's a shame, it's sad, it's disappointing, because, you know, as I do all of these, I don't deliberately set out to add issues to it, but I do seem very adept at it. And, you know, considering that, in principle, lace making is not hard. In practice, the repetition and your brain is a bad combo. Brains are bad at lots of repetitions, especially easy repetitions, because your brain will distract itself and go, I've done this a billion times, I don't need to concentrate. Which, well, in theory, you really would argue that it's kind of true. You don't, because you don't. But it's like if you've ever done computer programming in the 80s when you typed in thousands of data statements and thousands of print statements. You'd get to the end and your brain would be telling you that there is no way print is spelt Print. It just can't be. It looks wrong. It must be wrong. And the same's very true when we did karate. You know, Sensei would have you repeating some combination. You know, block punch, block punch, block punch. He would then do a slightly different thing, your brain would just melt. And you're like, but I was just doing that. And you'd see it a lot in that people would be doing block punch, block punch, block punch, block punch, block punch, going along, doing all their thing, you know, on command, you know, 1 block punch, 2 block punch, right? And suddenly their brain would kick in and go, I'm sorry, I'm doing what? And that would be it. They'd screw it up and it wouldn't make sense anymore. And so brains are very good at being arseholes, frankly. Which, you know, slightly disappointing, but, you know, it is the way of the brain. And we have to learn to live with them. And so we do live with them in the end, disappointingly. They do not bow down to our requirements. And every so often, they have utter moodies where they don't do what they need to do. And you've got basically no control over it. And you're left going, well, I'm sorry, brain, but, you know, I needed this of you. This was kind of a requirement. And your brain's gone, shame that. And that's it, you know. So, but I am really looking forward to making... I put that in the wrong hole, didn't I? Yes, I did. There. Which is why that looks suddenly weird. You go in there. There, like that. Anyway, I was showing Christy earlier, I have been making bobbins. So, these are my 2 experimental bobbins that I made to decide whether I liked how they looked. And I'm really pleased with them. I like the weight of them. I quite like the simplicity of them. There are a couple of issues, which is that the colour rubs off. I'm following some instructions by another lady, and she said her colour didn't rub off, or mine are. So either... Well, that's the plan. I will make some on stream, but in essence, dowel rod Sharpie, colour, glue on beads. Really, that's all they are. So you start off with, I put the non-coloured ones, but you colour in your sticks, and you get some beads. So I chose... Well, it's quite weird because you often see on some of the beginner groups people kind of poo-pooing the beginner who's made some lace bobbins out of basically like toothpicks with some plastic beads on. So I got some slightly wider dowel, so these are 5mm dowels, and the elastic band doesn't really hold them, but these are 5mm dowels. I coloured them in with a Sharpie, I have one of them is coloured in with black wood dye to see if it rubs off less, and it does. But I'm not sure whether it was the stick I picked or the black wood dye, but it feels a lot rougher. Now, rough isn't necessarily a problem. We can solve that. But I'm going to see if the Sharpie kind of chills out with a very light layer of varnish on it. Going to rub them down. I've got my cloth of rubbing. I cleaned it off. Because, for example, if I take the one I coloured in earlier, so if I take this one, if I show you my cloth before and after, so this is my cloth before, I get the stick and I go rubby, rubby, rubby. You can see it comes off, and of course that means it comes off on the thread. I mean, obviously you don't normally rub it that hard, but you know, Murphy's Law and all that. You don't want to be working on well, that's why one's going to test it, right? Now this one, this stick, so if I pick another corner, so here is a corner unfaded by the thing, and give it a good rub, this does not come off. This is the black wood dye. So this has huge potential. It's a very similar kind of black, and the more I rub it with the cloth, actually, the smoother the stick's getting. So she says rubbing it a bit more. Yeah, it's quite smooth now, so that's a bit better because it was a bit rough. But you know, that makes that quite practical to work with. I'll probably do another coating on that one, just to make sure it's, you know, fully black. By the way, the colour is called black, because there's an ebony black, because ebony black's not quite black. But I want ebony bobbins. There's a lot of my soul that wants ebony bobbins, but the price of ebony bobbins is really prohibitive. It works out as kind of, by the time you add a bit of shipping, even if you buy quite a few in one go, they work out as best part of nearly £6 a bobbin, and screw that. Whereas these bobbins from the same people are horrendously affordable. My bobbins work out, I think it works out as 55p each, and part of that is nearly 2/3 of it is the price of this one bead at the bottom. Bastards have also put the price up, but I've got ball bearing on top. I've got two kind of collar beads either end, and this little kind of flat one at the bottom, and then a big chunkier one. But they've got a fair bit of weight to them, which I quite like. But they're not, I mean, they'd be useless for, you know, if you wanted to use the world's kind of like finest thread on a bolster pillow, they're too heavy for that. But that's because I chose metal beads. If I chose plastic beads, well, then it wouldn't be, would it? They'd be a lot lighter. So, and this is, again, part of the, you can customise what you want out of it, because, well, you can. And so it is, I'm just going to check I didn't screw any of that up. So, because I have I have previous for this, so I just want to make sure that I haven't. So you've got a pair, 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 and you've got a pair. Right. I'm going to sew you off. Well, actually, no, I won't. I'll put you. I'll hang on to you for a bit and do a few more on the 3. But so yes, I do kind of, I am really pleased with how they turned out, but I feel they look quite classy. Now obviously you can do all manner of things if you can find the beads for it. One of the beads I've got is slightly small, so I do need to kind of sand one end down slightly to put it on, but it's only slightly. It really is, you know, borderline. You know, if I could hold the thing in a vice and smack it with a hammer, it would probably go on. But then I'd probably end up with clamp marks on it, and that would annoy me. So, you know, that's not always a good plan. Right. Oops, stick. You two need to go over there a minute. Oh, and by the way, I have a new thing. Ah, bloody ads. Oh. Stickity stick. So you're back. I was just saying as suddenly the ads hit. I've done a bit of work. As you know, I tend to call these sticks because, well, they're sticks. So, a bit like if you were around for my strips when I was going, I'm a snag. Which I got off something, and it took me ages to find out the thing that I actually got it from because I don't actually know where I heard it, but it stuck in my head. I've now got this. Stick, 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 stick. Which I can pop up every so often. Because, well, they're sticks. Just to give it a little bit of fun. To bring some childish humour into it all. Now once again, it's a beautiful sunny day and I'm indoors and should be in the garden, but I'm not. I'm indoors doing this. So yes, how's everybody doing? What are you working on at the moment? If the answer's surviving, that's perfectly good. We all understand how that one can go. I was trying to pick a fight with the HR of my company the other day because we had to do some training. Fine. I did the training. Fine. They could see I did the training, but it didn't mark that I'd completed it, even though it said that I had kind of completed it. And so I had to do it all over again, and it's kind of like, really? But I've done all of this. Yes, we can see you've done it, right? But it's not marked. I can see it's not marked as done because, well, you keep annoying me saying I haven't done it yet. And even my manager was kind of like, well, if I can see she's done it, and they were like, yeah, so can we. Well, then just mark it as done, for Christ's sake. I had to do the whole bloody thing again. Fortunately, it was not one of the long ones in life, but, you know, still something I'd rather not have had to do in a hurry. I don't know what it is, but you know how, like, if you get junk mail, the more you try and do something to stop the junk mail, the more junk mail you seem to get? Training courses seem to fall into the same category, in that the more training that you do to clear off your list of required training, the more courses seem to pop up, because, of course, the moment I finish that course, ting! You have mandatory training to do. You've got 45 days to do it. What? So, at some point this week, I need to do my community work thing, which they do. See if I can do that on Tuesday. Squish. Yes, I said hello to you. This does not equal please stand and trample on me. How's your ear? Let me have a look. Oh, it's looking a lot better, isn't it? Yes, it's looking a lot better. Well, stop picking fights with your brother. Yes. Somebody picked a fight with her brother and lost. And got a chomp on the ear, which bled a little bit. Not a lot. Basically tried to pierce her ear for her, and she got a bit of a scab. Didn't go all the way through, did it? No. But it did leave little dents on both sides that bled slightly. So it made it look worse than it really was. And you were a big baby about it. And you are toasty warm. You are incredibly warm, young lady. Have you been sitting in the warms with your brother? Bet you have. I bet he's out there cooking gently. Because he does that very well. But you, my young lady, are beautifully warm. There is something really weird about the difference between sun warm and other warm. There is just something calming about sun warm that just fits really nicely and soothes the soul. That sounds like a car alarm, but it was a bird. Oop, Bruv's coming in. Hey, little man. You been sitting in the warms? Oh, a good honk. That's what the world needs. Great. How much of that is because you're too hot? Or that you've been eating things in the garden is the other option. You alright, little man? Rory, Rory. You alright? You alright, my little man? You alright? Why don't you have a drink from the kitchen? Hmm? Why don't you have a drink in the kitchen? Hmm? Have a drink in the kitchen. Go drink from the kitchen. Right. So we need to put 2 back in here. The only thing is, please do not honkish all over my couch. We know how much I enjoyed it last time we did that. A couple of weeks ago now, may only be a week ago, you know how time can be. I went to the kitchen to get a drink or a snack or something and thought, my trousers feel funny. They were like clinging to me in a way I wasn't used to. And the autistic little bit of me was kind of getting a bit worked up about it all. And, wow, put my hand on my butt and mine was wet. And it's like, 52, really should know if I wet myself. But they really were wet. And as it turned out, what had actually happened is that someone, likely Rory, had honked, taken a drink of water, drunk it too fast, honked it on the couch. And as a result of honking it on the couch, quietly, I had been sitting in a wet spot. And the wet spot had slowly seeped into my trousers so that I was not really aware of the wet spot. And that now I'd stood up and it had clung to me that, well, it became apparent. And, well, I didn't think too much of it. I did wonder if it was pee originally. But fortunately it was kind of time for bed, so it wasn't too bad. Next morning, it was ripe. It was very unpleasant. So we do not need to be repeating that one again, if you don't mind. I did not enjoy it. It's not one that needs a repeat and all that. You're not as toasty warm as your sister. I would have thought you would have been toasty warm, but you obviously had a bit more sense and did sit in the shade. So, being a little black dog, that's a good plan. Logic says do the short rows, less bobbins out to play. Well, that reminds me, I need to keep an eye out on Twitch so I don't know what time it starts. Not yet is the short answer. That's fine. There's a Path of Exile 2 race on today, and it's quite impressive to watch these people because, well, they get further in the game in basically 2 hours than I do in a couple of weeks. Well, in fact, in this particular case, further than I have full stop. So, it is quite interesting to watch and see them plough through it all. And they do it on hardcore so they can't die as well, which is, you know. Or if it's like the last one, if they die, they get a penalty and have to stop for a while. It's kind of weird. funny how this bit is square, even though it's only a couple of rows left than the middle one, always seems to take like none of the pins. What are you struggling with, Christy? I'm not sure those words are quite in the right order. So you want to make bobbin holders, as in like storage packs, I guess, and make them out of lace? Okay. Making them out of lace would be difficult, I think. Um, Fair enough. Did you start your lace curtain? Fair enough. Fair enough. really want to sew those in. Right, let's put you back in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So okay, let's put yours here. Everybody else is going to get sewn off. Now I prefer to work right to left, just to be really awkward. But I think we're going to have to make an exception on this occasion. Just because there's too many bobbins to be keeping out of the way, really. Aha. It's always very frustrating when you work out what you've done wrong because it's usually something really simple. It's not like you completely miscalculated because, you didn't take something into account. It's always something really obvious and simple that, if you had like that, and you sit there thinking, if I had two brain cells, I wouldn't have done this, or I wouldn't have missed that, or, it's always something highly aggravating. It's never something that you couldn't have predicted. It's always something really dumb. So good luck with that. Give me the wretched pen. Well, that was well timed as that bobbin's run out. Nearly done with the worst bit. This is definitely the worst bit. Sophie, Sophie. Oops, just throwing my scissors on the floor. That's right, I'm going to need another bag for the bobbins. It's doing alright for the moment. Nope, that's wrong. Got that wrong somehow. Getting the mega munchies. I didn't have any lunch, which doesn't help. I'm going to be right back. So I'm going to chomp some crisps at you, I'm afraid. I'm so hungry. And of course I have immediate doggedy attention. So I do apologise, but I am so hungry. No, there are not crisps for you. No, I was eating them. I was not sharing them. another one. Didn't we have one earlier? I'm sure that we had spam bot earlier. Yeah. Maybe it was last night and I'm just forgetting. Time for more sewings. Now I know last time I started this end, but I do feel better starting the other end, so the other end we will start. Get in there, people. Get in there. Actually, grab me another bag, because this is looking a tad full. You're kind of full, so let's zoom you up and start the next bag. Itch, itch. Right. Not a good idea somehow. How did I do that? I need a pin. It's not like I'm short of them. Undo this knot because so you have got the twists, you were just being a shit. You didn't tell me you couldn't see. Bad you. You're all sleeping on the job. You didn't tell me you couldn't see. Oh well, you haven't exactly been missing out. You've been tying ends, so. But you didn't tell me. Naughty people. Yay! And I am a few pairs of finishing off my square. So it is proving to be a good day, is it not? Do you think you're going to get your first bobbin holder finished today? I think that's one of the things that I struggle most with is even when you're doing something fairly simple, it takes a long time and always seems to take more time than you gave it credit for. It seems fun, and this is true with most crafting, it's not specific to lacing, but many of these things you look at and you go, well, each thing is not that hard, it should only take me this long, blah de blah, great, wonderful, I'll do that, and then I need to do so many of them, that takes that long, that'll be so long, and yet somehow it takes 4 times as long for no good reason, and you're like, it should have fitted, but it didn't. Nearly there, people. Very nearly there. For some reason, the thing I was listening to has gone quiet. Might be gone quiet. Yes. Keeps doing that. There we go. That's my pin box. There it is. Indeed, ding. Hey, that looks cool, mate. That really does. Love that. That does look good. That does look very good. I did. I have. I don't know how many times I've all said to you, I need to stop tucking my feet underneath. It's I think I'm generally really solid on my feet. You know, when I did karate, no one ever swept me because I was solid on my feet. But at the same time, part of the reason I'm solid on my feet is I don't do stuff that makes me feel unsolid on my feet. And leaning forwards to wipe nose trails on my lace pillow is one of them, because I don't feel secure. So I put my feet in a position to brace against the falling over, even though chances of me actually falling over are pretty much none. But it does mean that I'm doing that, and it then stops all the blood going to my feet. So not doing the pricking ahead of time can definitely lead to interesting outcomes, I feel. Hey, Naughty Kel. Don't think you were around at the beginning of the stream, but I have 2 sticks. This stick was coloured the traditional way. This stick was one layer of the black wood dye. And as we know, she says, looking for the corners. Hang on, one moment. There's only 8 corners to check. So, traditional way leaves stain coming off. But if I pick a spot, so this spot here, and rub it as hard as I can, it doesn't come off. So, this has great potential. Has exceedingly good potential. me reread that. Oh, finish. It was just, the finish was just the standard. I hadn't done anything more to it than, one was the normal Sharpie, the other was black dye, and the black dye does not come off. They do look slightly different. So if I put them down again, you need to be paying attention, but if I put them down, they do look slightly different. The black dye does have less of a sheen. It's like one's a blue black and one's... It's the one I talked about yesterday. I talked to you about it yesterday. I'd ordered some black wood dye to see what happened. Along with some matte varnish, and I haven't got round to the matte varnish yet. But the black wood dye, I mean, so as I say, they're slightly different blacks. I mean, how can that be a thing? But it is. So one is, but this one kind of needs a second coat, because there's like, when I originally did it, it felt very spiky, but now I've rubbed it with the cloth and kind of, for want of a better word, polished it a bit. The spikes have gone, but they're now pale because they were sticking up. So I need to cover that again, but it dries quite quickly, but it doesn't seem to come off. But in a way, I hate to say it, I actually like how these look more. So I'm going to try a matte varnish on them. Because if that stops the colour coming off, I probably will stick with the Sharpie. But the black dye, maybe I'll black dye them first and then Sharpie them. I do wonder actually, if I painted, because if I painted my little sponge job, if I painted that with my Sharpie and then tried to transfer it, whether that would lessen the amount of over dye, for want of a better word. So, you know, maybe that's a potential thing. Have fun. Take care, mister. Probably not, to be honest, but yeah, I will see you soon, mister. I like lurks. Lurk are good. So, there we go. So, let me trim some ends because they're all a bit long. There we go. Now, so we have square number 8. Let's update my graphic because, well, that's always a thing. I've sod off adverts. So there you go. We have completed triangle 32, square number 8. I've got a bit of tidy up still. I've just trimmed them for now. I haven't finished sealing them off, as the phrase goes. But we have completed. And so before the adverts come, I'm going to say thank you for joining me. Tomorrow I will be streaming. I don't quite know what at this point because, well, I don't know what yet. Depends on how the bobbins go. Maybe tomorrow will be bobbin day. I don't know. Because I'm nearly done with the strip as well. So it probably won't be much of a strip unless I start another one, of course. Because, well, you can always make another one. I will see what I get up to this evening. There's a PoE race on in a minute that I really, really want to see. But we have completed square number 8 out of 9. We're really rocking on now. I shall see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.